In this first lesson on Introduction to Arpeggios, we're going to introduce you to arpeggios and how to execute them, how to play them. We're going to show you how to play a few basic shapes and help you get yourself started and well grounded in the playing of arpeggios. Now, to play arpeggios, you also have to be familiar with or get comfortable with the idea of economy or sweep picking. You've probably heard that term bandied about before. Well, we're going to walk you through a little bit on how you accomplish economy picking so that you can indeed begin to actually make these things happen. All right? So let's just dive right in and get you started, shall we? All right, let's talk about economy picking here before we get jumping into the arpeggios. Economy picking, simply defined, is when you're moving from the sixth string to the first string in direction, horizontally across the fretboard. If your last note, say on the fifth string, is a downstroke, and you're moving to the fourth string, that first note on that string will also be a downstroke. Conversely, when you're moving from the first string to the sixth string in direction, if, say, on the second string, the last note is an upstroke and you're moving to the third string, the first note on the third string will be an upstroke as well. All right? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me use the major scale as an example. Most people, they alternate pick everything. And that's how we do it. That's how we play solos and everything else, every single note line. All right? Now, when we economy pick the same thing, we use that moving from one string to the next. If it's a downstroke, then as you're moving from low to high, string-wise, low E to high E, in that direction, if your last note on a given string is a downstroke and you're moving down towards the high end of the fretboard, the next note on the adjacent string is a downstroke. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. We're going to play through the major scale again. So you start out just playing it. Now the next note is going to be on the fourth string. Our last note we just played is here on the fifth string, and it's a downstroke. Previous to that, we were alternate picking everything. Okay, now the fourth string is where the next note is. We're at the fifth fret on the fifth string. We're going to be on the second fret of the fourth string. So that was a downstroke. This now is also a downstroke. And then we go to the fifth fret of the fourth string, and we're going to move to the third string, and we ended on a downstroke on the fourth string at the fifth fret. The first note on the second fret of the third string is also a downstroke. Now we're on the third string at the fifth fret, and that was a downstroke. So we're going to go to the third fret of the second string and carry the downstroke over. Okay? Now when we come down from the first string to the sixth string in direction, we're alternate picking everything up until the second fret of the third string, which is an upstroke. Now our next note is going to be on the fourth string at the fifth fret, so we carry that upstroke over to the fourth string, and then we keep going. Now at the second fret of the fourth string, it's an upstroke, and we're moving to the fifth string at the fifth fret, so we carry that upstroke over, and then we keep going. And now we're at the second fret of the fifth string, and that too was an upstroke. And the next note is the fifth fret of the sixth string, so we carry that upstroke over. Just like that. Here, I'll demonstrate. So it's pretty straightforward, and logical and common sense in how you apply it. Okay? So there you go. Looking at the first diagram here, both in your written and on the screen, I want to show you the pattern of the first arpeggio, which is a major 7 arpeggio. The major 7 chord is spelled 1, 3, 5, 7 because you're using the first, third, fifth, and seventh note of the major scale to play that chord. It is composed of the 1, 3, 5, and 7. Exclusively 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. Okay? Pretty straightforward stuff here. You're arpeggiating a major 7, so you need to know how it's spelled, 1, 3, 5, 7. If you've taken our How to Build Chords from Scratch course, you know how this works. Okay, and you know the spelling of the chord. So what I want you to do now is I want you to lay your second finger across the 3rd fret, all the way across, just like this. And then I want you to put your first finger at 2, your 3rd finger at 4, and your 4th finger at 5. You look at the diagram, you'll notice finger, colon, and then you have a vertical set of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the big 3 next to the open circle at the 3rd fret that's the 3rd fret. So you know this is at 2, this is at 4, and this is at 5. Now, the point here is to demonstrate that your first finger is always going to play only what's at the 2nd fret. Your second finger is going to play only what's at the 3rd fret. Your 3rd finger is going to play only what's at the 4th fret, and your 4th finger is going to play only what's at the 5th fret. So they have exclusive domains. Now you'll notice all the way through this lesson that your fingers are going to stay put at these positions. All right? So let's get on to the arpeggio itself. The first chord, as we mentioned before, is a major 7. So we're going to arpeggiate the major 7. The major 7 chord is composed of 1s, 3s, 5s, and 7s. That's it. You're playing no other notes. Otherwise, it's a different chord. So every note you're playing is either a 1, a 3, a 5, or a 7. In the diagram, you'll notice the red circled notes. Well, those are the root tones of this given arpeggio. It's in G. So you've got a G here at the 3rd fret of the 6th string, a G here at the 5th fret of the 4th string, and a G on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Okay? So we're going to focus on the fretting hand first. Then we'll focus on the picking hand. Again, your fingers are exclusively laying on their specific fret. The first finger's at 2, the second finger's at 3, the 3rd finger's at 4, the 4th finger's at 5. All right? So if you look at the tablature, you can see we start on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, and you'll notice above the notation that you're fingering. So you start with, if I can hit the string right, your second finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Now you're going to go to the 5th string with your first finger at the 2nd fret. You're going to remain on the 5th string and play the 5th fret with your 4th finger. Now you're moving to the 4th string with your 3rd finger at the 4th fret. You stay on the 4th string and play the 5th fret with your 4th finger. Now you're going to move over to the 3rd string with your 3rd finger and play the 4th fret. Your second finger is now going to play the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And your first finger is going to play the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Then your second finger is going to play the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Now we're going to descend, and it's the same fingering, just in reverse. So your first finger is playing the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Your second finger comes over and plays the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Your 3rd finger plays the 4th fret of the 3rd string. And your fourth finger plays the fifth fret of the fourth string. Your third finger comes over and plays the fourth fret of the fourth string. Your fourth finger moves over to the fifth string and plays the fifth fret. Your first finger plays the second fret of the fifth string, and your second finger comes in and plays the third fret of the sixth string. There we go. Okay? Now, as always, if you need to rewind and walk through the demonstration again, by all means, absolutely take advantage of the technology and do this. All right? Then when you're ready to continue, you can always restart the video and keep going. Let's focus on the economy picking, the picking hand now. We know the fretting hand stuff from the previous bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on what string you're playing and the downstroke or upstroke aspect of what you're playing. Okay? So we start on the sixth string with a downstroke. Now the next note is on the fifth string, so that too is going to be a downstroke, carrying it over. Carrying the motion over. Now the next note is still on the fifth string, so because we did a downstroke, we need to now do an upstroke. The next note is on the fourth string, so that is a downstroke. And we stay on the fourth string, another upstroke. So we've done some pretty straightforward alternate picking in addition to the economy at the first. The next note is on the third string, that's a downstroke. So we're going to the second string next, that too is a downstroke. And we're going to the first string, and that too is a downstroke. And then an upstroke on the first string to finish it. Now we're going to descend and we're going to go backwards. Now the fingering on your fretting hand remains the same, just in reverse, but the picking is a little bit different. So we're going to do a downstroke after we've done this upstroke on the root on the top. So the next note on the first string in reverse is a downstroke. Now we're going to go to the second string and play an upstroke. And now we're going to the third string, so we continue the upstroke to the third string. We're going to go to the fourth string now, so we continue the upstroke to the fourth string. Staying on the fourth string, the next note is a downstroke. To the fifth string, an upstroke. Then we stay on the fifth string, so another downstroke, going to the sixth string with an upstroke. So if you need to watch the demonstration again, rewind and go through it. Pay attention to the diagram and the picking instruction, okay? It's all laid out there in the diagram as well. So just pay attention to it. Here's another way you can look at it. You start the whole thing with a down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up. So you have a couple of ways to look at it, all right? Again, rewind if you need to, watch the demonstration, and look at the diagram so you can see what's happening when, all right? So here's how it would flow. All right, there you go. Now you're going to learn a minor 7 arpeggio. Minor 7 arpeggio is just the notes of a minor 7 chord. So the spelling of both is 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. That's all you're going to play exclusively. 1s, flat 3s, 5s, and flat 7s. Doesn't matter how many, as long as those are the only notes that you're playing. All right, so we've got your root tone at 5 on the 6th string, 2 on the third string and 5 on the first string. And it happens to be an A, so you're going to be framing an A minor 7 chord. Okay, so 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1, just like that. Okay, and once again, your fingers are going to be remaining in their exclusive domain. First finger at 2, second finger at 3, third finger at 4, fourth finger at 5. Okay? Now, let's walk you through how to play this minor 7 arpeggio. Okay, let's play through the minor 7 arpeggio. First, we're going to focus on your fretting hand. You start at the 5th fret of the 6th string with your 4th finger. You move over to the 5th string at the 3rd fret with your 2nd finger. Then to the 4th string at the 2nd fret with your 1st finger. You're going to remain on the 4th string, and so you'll play the 5th fret with your 4th finger. Your 1st finger moves over to the 3rd string at the 2nd fret. Your 4th finger lays down across the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Now, interestingly, you also want to keep it there for the 2nd string note, which is also at the 5th fret. Then your 2nd finger comes in on the 1st string at the 3rd fret. And your 4th finger picks up the 5th fret of the 1st string. That's the ascending portion. Now, in descending, everything is the same fingering, but in reverse. So we come back to your 2nd finger at the 3rd fret of the 1st string. You're going to lay your 4th finger down across the 5th fret of the 2nd, and then the 3rd string, because those notes are played one right after the other. And your 1st finger then comes to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And your 4th finger moves over to the 5th fret of the 4th string. 1st finger covers the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And then your 3rd finger your 2nd finger covers the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And then your 4th finger rounds it out on the 5th fret of the 6th string. There we go. Okay? E ascending and descending. Now, if you need to pause and rewind and watch the demo again, absolutely do that. Follow along with the written material or on screen as you do so that you have a more clear understanding of what your fingers are actually going to do. Then, when you're ready to continue, after practicing this a couple of times, restart the video and we'll keep going. Let's focus on the economy picking now, the picking hand. You know what your fretting hand is supposed to do, so let's just really focus on the pick motion as we ascend and descend across the strings. So I'm just going to call out the string and pick motion. We start on the 6th string with a downstroke. We continue the downstroke because we're moving to the 5th string. We continue the downstroke again because we're moving to the 4th string. So the first 3 notes are all downstrokes because you're crossing 3 strings in the process. Now we stay on the 4th string, so an upstroke. We move to the 3rd string, a downstroke. Now, as discussed earlier, we straddle the 5th fret of the 3rd and the 2nd string with our 4th finger. Well, we've already played a note on the 3rd string, Now we have a second note on the third string. Since the first note was a downstroke, the second note is an upstroke. Then we move to the second string with a downstroke at the 5th fret. Then we move to the first string and carry the downstroke over. We finish the ascending portion with an upstroke. Now we're going to turn around and play in reverse. Remember, your fingering, fretting, is exactly the same, just in reverse. So we're going to play a downstroke on the 3rd fret of the first string. And now we're going to move over to the 2nd and 3rd strings. Remember, your little finger straddles both the 2nd and 3rd string at the 5th fret. So the 2nd string is an upstroke, followed by the 3rd string, which is an upstroke, carrying it over. Then we're staying on the 3rd string, so a downstroke. We're going to move to the 4th string, upstroke. Staying on the 4th string, downstroke. Moving to the 5th string, an upstroke. Continuing to the 6th string, we continue the upstroke. Okay, let me walk through it for you real quick here. Now, if you need to pause and rewind and watch the demonstration again, go ahead, do that. Follow along with the written material either before you or on screen. Pay attention to where you're picking, what you're picking, where you're picking, on what string, and so that you really get a clear understanding of what's expected of your picking hand. Okay? Then, after you've played through this a few times, restart the video and we'll wrap it up for this session. Okay, there you go. A major 7 arpeggio and a minor 7 arpeggio. And the economy picking technique applied to both. We really encourage you to take your time here. Don't be quick to move on to the next lesson. It'll be there. Focus on learning these shapes, getting your fingers to work right. We're probably making your fingers do stuff they're not used to doing. That's a big deal. That increases your dexterity. And the economy picking, well, you may be inclined to do that naturally, and that's great. This actually makes you more aware of what you're doing so that you can be more focused on making sure that this is what works best. Arpeggios cannot be played smooth and flowing without the application of economy picking. Basically, we're talking about conservation of motion, no wasted movement. And that's the essence of what economy or sweep picking is. So don't be in a hurry to move forward. Embrace this. Then when you are ready for the next lessons, you'll be more comfortable with the economy picking, and your fingers will be more comfortable with doing things they're not used to doing. Okay? All right. When you're ready, we'll be there. We'll see you then. Hey, thanks for watching. If you press the little red button down there in the corner, you'll be subscribed to Outsmart Your Guitar. If you then hit the notification bell, you'll be informed when we upload new material, which is usually around once a week. Below the video in the description, you will see a link that will take you to where you can download a PDF of the lesson material that accompanies this video. All lessons contain a link to give you access to the written material for that lesson. Below that, you will see a link to Patreon Outsmart Your Guitar, where I have a lot of material that isn't included here. So you may want to check that out. There's 2 levels of subscription. I'd really appreciate if you would become a patron by subscribing at one of the 2 levels and help support my efforts to continue to provide high quality lesson material for you to help you learn, play, and grow to become the guitar player you desire to be. All right. Thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hey, we'll see you soon.